Well, we'll call to order this evening the Municipal Building Authority meeting at 7 o'clock. First item, minutes review and approval. Step right in there and don't be afraid to make a motion.
I will. I'll make a motion to approve the January 13th, 2015 Municipal Building Authority minutes as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion from Stephen Duke to approve the minutes of the January 13th Building Authority, and was seconded by Monty Wells. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Payment of bills? No bills to be paid, right?
Bills this time?
Okay, looking for a,
I'll make a motion to adjourn the Municipal Building Authority meeting.
okay, got a motion from Rick to adjourn the Building Authority, Municipal Building Authority. I'll second the motion. Seconded by George. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
We'll now call to order the Monticello City Council meeting at 7:01.
Can you give me just a minute to switch here?
I'd like to see that one.
Yeah.
The post office. Yeah.
Okay, we welcome all the visitors with us this evening. Everybody signed in. Scouts have signed in. So you have proof that you've been here? Okay. First thing on the agenda is the invocation and opening remarks by someone in the audience or one of the city council.
Our kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we bow our heads at this time to express our gratitude today for our blessings, for the freedoms that we enjoy, the opportunities that we have to serve. We're grateful for this opportunity to meet as a city council and as citizens, and we ask Thee that Thou will be with us, that we will have civil discourse, and that we will actively seek those things that will be the best for our citizens, and we may use wise judgments in all that we do. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Next item, minutes review and approval of the January 13th, 2015 City Council.
I had a question. You got my corrections and everything, and those are made?
Yes.
Okay.
And more.
Okay.
I made a few other corrections that I found, but they were mostly grammatical.
Way to go, by the way.
Thanks.
That was a lot of work.
That was a chore.
You're welcome.
Job security.
Yeah.
So Scouts, I have to look over our last meeting. She takes notes of everything that we do, and we gotta look over and make sure that she was accurate and that the things that we present presented or recording that, what we said.
There's just a little typo on public comment, number 8, just the Maverick. Spelling looks like maybe the third to the last sentence, just on Maverick.
Oh, thank you.
Is that the spell checker type thing? Because I sent a few emails and I kept doing that to me.
That's all we're gonna do.
Entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the Monticello City Council meeting held on January 13, 2015.
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion was made to approve the minutes of January 13th, 2015 City Council by Monty Wells and seconded by Rick Clark. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is public comment. This is where the scouts tell us something.
The scout leader.
Or the scout leader, unless he delegates to the scouts.
I live out of town.
Doesn't stop anybody else.
Any other public comment?
I just
Bailey?
came in and showed Ty and Oliver. Oliver recommended that I come and show you guys this too. I was all fired up about it last week. This is the Utah Business January 2015 edition. One of their stories, if you guys recognize that Main Street. Okay.
What are they, not hiring?
Not hiring.
Oh, it's all closed buildings.
Yeah, well, that's not just kind of a dirty picture. And then the worst part is, I'll come and just
That looks familiar.
a little bit, huh? And it even says Monticello, Utah on it. It's talking about rural job loss. They even use the same picture over here. I was upset just because they didn't contact anybody. The only person from Monticello that they interviewed for this article was Gino LaGilia. The only person. So, and he's on disability, so I don't know how he could be on unemployment. But anyway, I've contacted the woman named Sarah Frankham who actually wrote the article, and we've invited her back down. This year is the 100-year anniversary for the San Juan Record, and we've got some programming that we'll be doing. There'll be a series of kind of, I don't want to call them lectures because that sounds boring, but we've invited in speakers who have either been part of the San Juan Record history, someone to give the history on Ray Ogden and that fascinating story. And we're asking these guys to come down and cover that. That's a Utah business in rural Utah that has been for 100 years. So we're hoping, I mean, I don't know how, it just doesn't make us look too great in
What
that.
periodical is that?
It's called Utah Business, the magazine for decision makers.
Can you show us
What issue was that?
Oh, yeah. It's January 2015. I'll pass it around if you guys want to look at it. But it's just too bad. It's too bad. I wish they would have contacted anybody, the city, anybody besides it. It's almost like she came into the town, took a picture. The first person who walked up, which happened to be Gino, and asked, "Are you unemployed?" And he said yes. And
Is she from Monticello?
No.
No. Is she related to
No
me?
ties.
No. Okay.
But anyway, I just wanted to let you guys know that.
But you complained for us.
Yeah, so we're hoping that they'll come down. I mean, I read this magazine every month, and they've never, ever done anything on San Juan County. It's never even been talked about in that magazine since I've been getting it. And now that they have, and that's what we've got. They owe us some good PR, so hopefully they'll come down and make it right. But And then also I wanted to mention, so the chairman of Overstock, he had to cancel last week. He will be here February 27th. We're going to be doing a luncheon here in Monticello, and I'd really, really like to have a good show. When his assistant asked me how many people come, and we had to, I think he's not expecting, I let him know about the size of our audiences, but it would be nice to have a good showing and support, so.
I've heard him speak at one of these deals, and he is really good. He does a good spiel.
Will that be at noon then?
That'll be probably 12:30 is what we're planning on, so he's gonna drive down that morning so that we can make sure he gets.
And where?
You guys see.
Where was the location?
To be announced.
Oh.
Possibly MPs now that we know there's. But I think most of you are on the chamber email list. And if you're not, I'll get your guys' emails and get you on there so you guys can stay up to date.
Okay, any other public comments? Okay, next item on the agenda, payment of bills.
I'm gonna go back to the brush truck stuff. We're still buying stuff for the brush truck. Alright, item 41232 and 41234,
What page?
2.
Could you give the company name? Or the vendor name, if that's on the left?
Curtis.
Curtis. Ellen Curtis.
Looks like about
Is it a duplicate?
$4,000 worth.
I was notified of a duplicate payment to them.
That's further equipping.
Is that what you're gonna say?
Yeah, because we had one in the last.
Yeah.
I just wondered if there's still more.
Yeah, we were made aware that they received a duplicate payment and they're gonna be fixing that, so.
Okay.
And that's like about 3 or 4 invoices in that one $4,000 check. That also closed out the CIB grant
Okay.
for that. So I think the remaining, they closed it out plus I think about $1,800. So we were real close. So. I didn't really do the math on that.
There's a whole bunch of small ones, and it just says Avery Training, 41271, page 3 at the bottom. There's a whole bunch from $2 up to $16.
What's the name?
It's for Avery, I assume for the police department. Training. And they're like $3, $4, $5. There's a bunch of them.
Probably just turned in receipts. Is that on the P card probably?
Yeah, it's U.S. Bank, so yeah.
Yeah.
What training was that?
He's on a training somewhere, I guess, or?
Yeah, I wasn't made aware of that.
In October.
I think that was his 1-year mark. So he might have gone to do some recertifications or things like that. Yeah, I don't know why it would be that many entries for a small.
Does those expenditures usually get approved? I mean, as far as like I know with the county commissioners and stuff, they'll come by and say, hey, we're doing out-of-state travel, and they'll approve it and stuff. Does the city council do the same thing, or?
Well, the department heads have an approval process and that should have been submitted on a form. I don't know if it was, but we have a form for travel that gets filled out and it has to be signed by the department head to approve those, so.
And a lot of those, if it's just a credit card swipe, a lot of those smaller purchases are within the purchasing limit of a given employee.
So how does that work though? Like if you do travel and stuff, do you get a per diem or?
It depends on your situation, but yes, the answer is yes.
You get a per diem or you get reimbursed for actual
Yeah.
expenses?
It depends, if you incur, like, depends, like, if you're going to Salt Lake, but you're staying with family, we'll comp you for gas and meals. But if you stay in a hotel, we'll cover that.
So it's actual expenses then?
Yeah.
And there's a limit per day. What is that?
Well, not on hotels, there's no limit because you never know what's gonna
But on
happen.
food and stuff?
But food, yeah. We have it for
There's a
meal.
set dollar amount, it's like $15 for dinner,
Mhm.
$10 for lunch.
Yeah, that's just a standard government rate.
We could email you the travel form,
A
right?
voucher.
Voucher
It
that
does
you
the
fill out.
calculations.
Yeah, I just wondering what the per diem rate is.
I'm having a hard time recognizing Monty over there.
That's a,
That's why I did it. That's really all.
Gotta look twice.
Yeah. What's the, on that same page, 41268, the audit Billboard?
so that is, again, for the auditors, finishing writing up the management discussion analysis for the audit.
Oh, okay.
And we got that back. We got the full report back.
And Ty's got this big stack of them.
There's another one on page 4 that says lunch, and it's 41271 for streets. And what is that
Christmas? Wait, is it
$33.
to who?
for lunch?
It says
To the
streets.
vendor.
Streets?
It's the car,
US Main.
Oh,
Debit card number, last four.
No, just November 14th.
For streets,
Yeah. Streets miscellaneous.
November 14th. huh? November 15th.
There was that and jackets on the same day. Jackets were $189.83.
I don't know about lunch, but since it was in November, I'm not gonna feel left out.
The jackets were, that one we got was the new high vis.
Yeah,
Wind
those were
breakers.
those, yeah. I don't know what the lunch is,
Yeah, the lunch, I'm kinda,
but we did get some
we did get some jackets.
safety jackets, they're high visibility.
Reflective.
So when we work on the streets, people know what to
Hit.
steer for. Did somebody pick those up or were they delivered?
They were delivered.
Yeah. It was just on the same day, so I wondered if somebody made a run for them or something.
We got new jackets and we celebrated by having lunch.
Wearing your jacket.
Yeah, broke them in. We get pizza sauce on
So
them.
we can,
Is there a way to pull it up
I
and
was
see
gonna-
later on?
Yeah, we
we
can
can
go
research
Yeah.
any of these, so.
I'll see if Nate remembers.
It probably says on the image,
Yeah.
we just look at the image.
I had another question on page 5, 41275, a refund for Holmes Bible.
Yes, that's just a deposit refund. When you close an account or you've been in good standing for so long, then the system refunds that money.
Oh, okay.
Okay. I will make a motion to approve the bills as paid.
Second it.
Motion has been made by Stephen Booth to approve the bills as has been paid, seconded by Monty Wells. Any other further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Next item on the agenda is public hearings. To receive input concerning potential projects for which funding may be applied under the CDBG. Snow City, what is that? Something Cities Program? Small Cities Program. For program year 2015, suggestions for potential projects will be solicited both verbally and in writing from all interested parties. The expected amount of CDBG funds for this program year will be discussed, along with the range of projects eligible under this program and review of previously funded projects. So we don't need to close anything, do we?
No.
Just- We open the public hearing at this point for any public input and suggestions and,
I have a question.
okay,
Where does CBDG get their money?
CDBG is a HUD program that,
Who?
a HUD,
Okay.
Housing Community Development Act of 1974. It's been running for 34 years. And so every year there's certain allotments to the different counties. Suwalog, just southeastern Utah Association of League of Governments, I think, has a certain amount that they will be handing out in grants, and then all the communities in the area kind of bid for it.
Do these have to be matched? Is this just whoever has the best idea?
It's kind of on a point system. What they say are the goals, like ensuring that utilities or certain housing things are met for a community. And so if you match that goal system, they're gonna just applying for any grant.
Okay.
do you want to explain a little bit more what programs are eligible?
So this year, the goal stated the highest amount of points will go to projects that impact moderate or low income housing. One project I would like to suggest and put on this public hearing is that there's an upcoming road plan project. Nate and Ty just met with Jones DeMille. I don't know how much the crew was met with that. But as part of that plan, involved uranium and lower uranium drive as part of that, and submit that to this application. If we can get the grant, then that would help with the infrastructure repair on lower uranium drive. Put in a new sewer line and water line.
And where did they get the money?
I believe HUD.
Where does HUD get the money?
HUD's a federal
That's
program.
So it's just mandated?
Everybody pays federal taxes.
Okay.
Not my part.
And China.
Then China.
So it's how Monticello's gone after in the past. In the past, recreation was in as a high pointage system, but not anymore. I think that's part of how we got some of the stuff out here in Veterans Park, is the CDBG grant. So that's changed. They've changed their goals.
So low and moderate.
So if we can show that the project is going to impact a certain percentage of low and moderate income housing, or the area directly impacting a certain percentage of that area is low or moderate, and moderate's like 80% of the mean income. So if the median income is $45,000, if the average household makes below $40,000 or $39,000, that's considered. It's affecting that population. So, the thought was there's this grant out there, and we're going to be doing a roads project anyways. So.
And the roads down by Meadowlark probably also fit in that same.
Well, and the thing, this isn't a roads project. This would be specifically utilities underneath the roads. This wouldn't cover the asphalt.
All right.
This would cover the sewer and water lines.
Well, my comment still stands. The roads are terrible down there.
Meadowlark is actually on that. It's another project that we're.
Okay.
Is there a number you're shooting for?
I think Nate said we could probably do it for $65,000 to $85,000. It could help put in good utility lines that'll last for a long time. And they have for this year $460,000 to give out in southeastern Utah. So
160?
460. So and some of that, and they obviously wouldn't give it all to anyone, but if we can, apply for that, it would help us out with that.
So is there, do we need to have more than just one project that we submit? Would it help?
No, this is, having a hearing is just part of the application checklist. I went to the meeting in October, and they said we needed to get the meeting done, this hearing done before January 30th. And it's been pretty busy since October, so. Just been,
Would that sewer line include two all the houses? What, south of my location? What is that, 200 south?
Or 200 south.
Yeah, would that area fall within that to fix that?
it'd be possible, I mean, this hearing, I think we're checking it off, and so we can go do some research after, but I think what we need to do is identify, if we do a sewer line in this street, of those houses, we'd have to go door to door and say, are you okay with this? Are you okay with divulging this kind of information on your household? Do you match this criteria? And if it's a certain percentage, then that might be able to work.
I would suggest that we look at that, because that's been a problem, I think, for years.
And we could throw it on as a batch too. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It doesn't have to be, we do this street and Lower Yangham gets none, or we do Lower. We could do it. As long as the Public Works is on board with
Does
that.
the public have any comments, questions? I mean, you're throwing CBD, all kinds of, that you probably don't understand, so if you have some questions, make sure you.
It's Community Development Block Grant. It's a grant to help communities have the basic necessities.
So maybe for the, I don't know if scouts are taking notes or whatever, but one of the unique things about a block grant is that it's awarded by the federal government, but prioritized by state and local governments. So instead of setting the priorities beforehand, and then everybody else trying to match the needs, and they've, at one time the thought was to give more state and local control is to award grants. They call them block grants for general purposes, but this priority process is a local process. So like in this housing situation, the typical example might be at the federal level, they say this grant is for inner city youth, or busing kids from one school to another, and then by the time that grant gets to a place like Monticello, it doesn't do much for us, and so that's why they've awarded grants, and they call them a block grant so that they can be prioritized.
And let me real quick just read off some of the points, and so in case any of these trigger some other ideas. And this doesn't have to be the only idea. This is just an idea we had. So there's lots of, and that's why we're having a hearing if there's other ideas that want to come out. It's all broken out on a point system, and if you hit the points, it's just added up and tallied at the end. So total number of people directly benefited from the project: low income direct beneficiaries, medium income direct beneficiaries, very low income. Jobs created and retained gets points. Creation/improvement of a district housing stock. Project that directly enhanced the availability of essential public facilities and services. That gets 32 points, which is pretty high. The other ones are like 7 and 10 points. Public service projects. Other funding provided to complete projects. So, like, for example, this Rose project. If we're doing a Rose project and piggyback on it, that'll add points to it. Sales tax revenue, 5 points. Ability of grantee to administer the grant, 6 points. Affordable housing plan compliance is 2 points, which is the lowest now. So those are just kind of, the most amount of points go to utilities and job creation, and then the aggregate after that of how many LMI, low moderate income housing, it's affecting. So there's other ideas that.
And of course, we don't have to even do it, right?
Right. Yeah. And if I don't think we've gotten it for a couple of years. I don't even know if we applied.
We haven't since since the building out here, the pavilion.
Okay.
That was our last CDBG project.
And then they did away with
licenses.
recreational stuff after that. Could have built a bigger skate.
Any thoughts?
Was it, the project you want to do, is that like rip the whole street up, replace the curb hang gutter,
Well, the idea
pipes
is,
and sewer and the...
yeah, so the idea is that the uranium or lower uranium drive is already going to be repaired, and while they have the road up, it's pretty old utilities there. While the road's already up, just quick, you know. You know, take out those pipes that are very vital to everyday life and put them back in.
So stuff that would have to be replaced anyway.
Eventually, yeah.
And it's much better to do it before the road gets put
Yeah, like
The day after you pave it is when the water...
in. Yeah, that's when it breaks.
when I was in college, they paved a parking lot, then they had to tear it up to do some kind of utilities things, and then completely repave it again. They just coordinated a little bit better because they saved a lot of money.
Sounds like Center Street. $200.
Sounds like a good time to do that. I don't know why we wouldn't pursue it.
I agree.
If there's not any other public comment?
Any other ideas on, we'd have to approve jobs created, so it couldn't just be,
Can we talk about it in the economic development committee?
I think it would have to be,
It has to be discussed in the
What kind of job creation would that do?
so let me read to you what it says. This is the whole workbook, it's a workbook.
I thought that was our minutes from last meeting.
That's what I was saying. Like, there's a whole appendix.
I didn't talk that much.
So, Councilman Wells, there's a whole appendix on how to do the survey when you go house to house to determine who is what. There's a whole section on that. Jobs created. These jobs must be for people from low, moderate income households, and a job needs to have potential for advancement. Entity must provide documentation with the application of how and when the job creation will occur. No points are awarded for temporary or project construction jobs. Only permanent full-time equivalent positions will be awarded points.
You won't get that with this.
No. That's just,
Your warehouse.
it gives you they're giving you a window. These are the projects we're willing to award points to. Jobs,
That's job
utilities,
creation,
Would be
housing projects. And so the city isn't the only entity that can apply. So if I've contacted an apartment housing owner in town and said, hey, just so you know, there's some grants out there. We're willing to work with you and help you out, because I believe if we had more apartments here, or nicer apartments here, it would be beneficial to myself, so.
Big time, for sure.
Yeah.
When we moved here 12 years ago, there was nothing to rent, and the ones that we found, we called the landlord and they said, no, you don't want these apartments. You don't want to come in here.
Oh, yeah.
Advertised them.
Great marketing, yeah.
Yes, anyways, that's a need. I've reached out and just, I haven't heard much back on it. But there's other options.
Okay.
Anything else? Going once, going twice? We're closing the public hearing on the CDBG funding. Next is business license fees. Who's this? Yours, or is this?
That was 11.
This is not mine. I know
This is-
business license.
His name,
Okay,
it's short.
No
better be, I'm timing.
posters?
I even typed it up for you,
Two.
Cindy. At least for key points.
You're cutting into your time.
Yeah.
50 seconds.
Getting rolling here.
All right. One of the reasons I brought this up, I just had some questions, not on the business license fees, just from the standpoint of the last time, it seems like we're losing a lot of businesses. And I know, anyway, just looking at some of the things. So what I come up with, and I also spent quite a little bit of time on the phone with Wanda today, because she's the one that handles the business licenses and stuff, talking to her about some ideas and things, and so I'll pass those on and just give you something to think about, I guess. So from what I can see, business licenses have three main purposes. to identify your business and make sure you are accountable for your actions, basically. To protect the public's health and safety, so you have your zoning and stuff, make sure business is where they're supposed to be. And have the licenses that they're supposed to, that kind of thing. To keep track of your finances for tax purposes. And that'd be, if you're selling stuff or TRT, all that kind of stuff. One of the things I looked at here, $50 doesn't seem like a whole lot per year for a business, but for a small business, even mine, especially when it comes to the time of year that it does, which is my slow time, every dollar counts. And so I like to account for everything I spend. I try, hopefully it benefits me somehow. And my biggest question has been, what does the city license do for me or do for a business? And so I went and talked to a couple different people, and like I said, I talked to Wanda about it. And I just want to give you some ideas on some numbers here. Because I think some of the things, one of the problems we have is that we have business licenses and different fees and stuff our businesses do that we have to pay at a state level and city level and everything else. And it almost seems like it's anti-business. And so to prove that point, to show you what I'm talking about, I got some numbers here that I'd just like to run through real quick. So like, just for example, one of the local businesses here in town for 2014, that's their total that they pay in like utilities, this is a combination. So for the city of Monticello, Empire Electric, Questar, business license, they pay $11,389. For San Juan County, they pay $4,400. And for Southeast Health Department, they pay $100. And then for Utah tax, they pay $11,290. So in the year, they spend $27,000.
What's the 11,000?
Utah tax.
Utah tax, what tax?
It'd be
Sales tax?
TRT stuff, for rooms and transient tax and stuff. So your sales tax and TRT.
So combined?
Yeah, so that's almost 12%, I think is what it's at now. So their total comes to $27,194 that they paid before, and this is what he wrote, before we can even buy groceries or laundry detergent. So they spend that much, they have to pay that much on top. And then I called and talked to Wanda, because I knew like the city, there was a different rate for businesses on utilities. And so I got this from Wanda, and I'll just run over those in case you don't know. So like this is the base rate. And for water, the base rate for a resident is $28.60. For a business, it's $34.45. For sewer, it's $18.60 for a resident. And for a business, it's $22.47. For garbage, it's, and this is for one polycart. For a resident, it's $17.56. Same polycart for a business is $28.09. And then there's also, your state licensing that you do for your businesses and that kind of thing. And then your sales tax for those businesses that do selling, that sell. Then we, like the one I just read, then you have your sales tax, and I think it's 6.35. You want to sell something right around there. And then, of course, for hotels and things like that, it's close to 12% that they pay, that comes out of their, what they earn. And just putting all that together, it seems like it would be nice to, there's a couple things that, talking with Wanda, that we could probably do, because I wanted to find out too, I know that my business license fee goes into the general fund, and there was the thing that come out in the packet, said it was, I think, $7,500 that comes in from businesses that help do the management of it and stuff like that. So talking to Wanda, there is, when a business first signs up and things, there's, they fill out an application, and then she has to bring that to this, it has to come to city council and all that, and type up stuff, and then every renewal, they come in and she has that ready for them. And then if they miss payments, the city has it set up to where they'll send out a couple of notices by mail, so that takes time and paper and, you know. So there is time involved with that, and so one of the things we come up with is, just talking with her was, you know, for those, like with my business, and I'm sure it is with everybody else's business as one, the state, because your license with the state comes due every year too, for renewal. And the state, you get an email that tells you you need to renew, and so you go onto the state website, you go in there, you verify your information for your business, has any of it changed, and then you pay your $15, renew, you print out the form saying you've renewed for this year, print it out, and there's your license. And I told Wanda about that and stuff, and we felt that, you know, that might be something we want to look at, because with that, it's still, because some of the concerns with these objectives, you know, with the licensing, to know what businesses are in the town, what they're doing, so for the safety and all that. And with that kind of a thing, the business would have to go in there and they'd fill it out. You know, if the city had a similar type thing, they'd have to fill all that information out, enter in their tax ID, the whole shot. And then they would pay their thing online, and the city already has an account or a credit card type thing. So they could pay that online, they would go into the database, it would already be in there, they'd print out their own license, and Wanda thought that'd save her a lot of time. She could print off a report monthly or however often and see what businesses or what, you know, if anything come up, she could look at it. And then for renewals, it'd be the same thing. The program could send out the notices by email. Most business.
What program? Sorry, you lost me.
The one the state has. You know, the state has a program that does all this. I'm just saying the computer program that would do this could send those notices out by email, because most businesses, you know, use that kind of thing, so they get their emails. And then the way the state has it set up is that if you don't pay your fee by your deadline, your license, you lose, you know, you don't get a third and fourth. Yeah, you just lose it. And then you have to go back through and reactivate it or whatever you need to do to go through the process. And anyway, just talking to her, that might be a way to limit the cost on this, which the objective here, what I was trying to do is come up with ways that even the littlest bit could stay in the business's pocket. Even if it is only $50, it's still $50. It could go to something the business, you know, needed or whatever. And then looking at the utility rates and stuff, she suggests maybe, you know, until we got that in position, there's some things maybe we could do there to make it more of an even playing field. It doesn't look like we're penalizing you for having a business, and charge people for, like we do with the usage, instead of just because you're a business. But anyway, originally I was going to come in here and sort of present the idea like Blanding. They have a business license that costs $25. Renewals are $15. But since talking to Wanda and talking about this afternoon with her, I would like to suggest that we see if there, you know, I mean, the state's already got one in place that I'm sure we can find out something about a program that could help eliminate a lot of that time spent on that, but yet still provide the same service to the city of knowing what's here and who's licensed, who isn't, that kind of thing.
So we just gotta have somebody has to look into it, I guess, see
Yeah,
what the program is, and if it's something we can do or not do.
If that's something that you guys, you know, I just think if we can show, the more we can do for businesses and make them see that we're trying to make it more business friendly instead of, you know, higher rates on utilities and business license fees. And I just think.
How long has this fee been in, this $50 fee? Does anybody know how long we've had that same amount?
Since I started here, I've been here 8 years. I'm sure it's been here longer.
I've had my business for 11. It's been $50.
Betty, you have a comment?
I have a couple. One thing that you mentioned I mean, just that I own a business too, is it would be nice, I'm just gonna throw this out since you guys are discussing this, is when, it would be nice to have that from the date of registration, that yearly fee. I know that that would be hard, but there are times I've got one in November and then had a bill in January again, and that's kind of a pain, you know. My second is I think that an online system would be great, but I think it should only be for renewals, not for first time. And the reason I say that is we've just about got these done. We've been building packets for quite a while, trying to get all of the resources in our area to the cities, Planning and Monticello. So when somebody walks in the door and says, I need to apply, they're handed this packet of resources. Again, it's, we're trying to, this business expansion and retention, that they're right off the bat, they're handed. And it's a way we know. Wanda lets me know anyone who comes in, then I know also. And so I think that that's been a really good checks and balances for us. I mean, our whole goal is to help and keep these businesses open. So that would be my, if I could say, just for renewals, not first time. And with the rates as far as business, and I've always wondered about that, so I'm glad you brought that up, but I'm almost wondering if there was a way we could incentivize it, that if they go through any sort of program, I mean, that maybe that's reduced. I don't know, I just know that we've been working on these incentive packages and, the incubator and those kind of programs. We're looking for ways to incentivize these businesses to build a business plan, to talk to a lawyer, to consult with an accountant. And these are all part of the programming that we're building for individual businesses, but they're also going to help them succeed so that we don't have these empty buildings and these businesses closing. So I don't know, maybe that's something we can look at, that maybe once they hit some of these marks, then maybe those, I don't know, I'm just throwing stuff out there.
One thing that I would guess that the $7,500 that we're getting in per year right now would be less than what it would cost us for support of the software to run it.
Well, I know the programming, like on my website, which I run a member site, and it keeps track of when people sign up and when their membership is needing renewed and all that, and it sends them notices. So basically, it's similar. The cost is putting it together, and my whole entire site ran me about $3,500. Drag company in California that built it for me. I don't know if the programming would cost, I'm sure if you went out and found a specific thing, but she was thinking there's a program you guys are using already. I can't remember the name she was saying.
Polaris?
For what?
Yeah.
Polaris?
She was thinking maybe that it might even have something with it. And then if the state already had something in place, I'm wondering if, they would just, would be able to see what they had and even get it from them or whatever. But I think I could, I don't know if they wanted me to. I could do some checking to see what something like that would run, that way. Like check with the state, see what program they're using, and check with one and look into that Polaris or whatever, Polaris a little more and see what it is and see if it does. Because I'm not sure.
I don't think that it has a web interface for outside users, but we can look into it. I'm going to a training in February, so I can ask.
Oh, okay.
Might be a module you can buy after the fact.
Yeah, and part of the other consideration is that the server of where that's hosted, so it's we just don't buy space in the cloud or whatever. We have somebody that we pay, and our IT support is hasn't been evaluated yet, but might be something that we're interested in renegotiating anyway. It's about $55 per phone call.
Damn. Well, I think,
So anyway, it just from an administrative point of view, kind of what Councilman Frost just kind of brought up is there's a balance between the amount of staff that we have, and then also going the IT route, which also is another lack of staff. And a lot of the I think a lot of the rates are set also because there's an assumption that the business community carries a certain amount of the economic drivers so that citizens or residents don't have to pay as much. And so, you know, the tax burden, I think those differences, there's an assumption if you go into business that you're right off the bat going to use more water. Now that's not the same for an online business versus going in business. Does that make sense? So I'm not sure about how the rate structure is, but it's common to have the base rate higher for businesses, and if someone's really going to go into business, then it just says this is what a business pays, so that you have a path to create that business and you know that you're on a level playing field with everybody else. So like the numbers that you gave on the amount that someone pays in taxes, I assume that that's based on the amount of business that they do. You know, so like it's all kind of on a same path, but administratively, I think that it would be, we'll do whatever the council decides if you want us to research it. I think I'll be researching kind of a lot of the budget stuff anyway. The IT support's one of the contracts that I'm interested in seeing if there's a less expensive alternative, but that includes hosting our servers and the security that comes with the website. It's not the same as just setting up a website on the cloud. I mean, we have to really protect people's information and that sort of thing. So.
Well, anytime you run credit cards, there's federal laws you have to set your website up to meet in order to have credit cards. So, like mine has to meet all those same regulations that go through my host.
Yeah, so I'm kind of interested in kind of the thought process of like if we had a certain amount, then we would reduce the fees, knowing that the fee structure was set kind of regardless of what we do administratively.
And I think the fees were originally set up, I think the fees are supposed to be set up so you take what it takes time to do renewals and whatever, and that's kind of how it's set up.
Yeah,
in the city, you're really not supposed to charge more than what it's costing you to.
No, you're really not supposed to, and that's why it's stayed as low as it has for all these years. Is
so you gain efficiencies with a certain amount of volume. So for us, it's not just the time that it takes to do that, it's the time that you're spending not doing the other things. So just if you look at Wanda's station,
One pot, yeah.
and if you made a list of all of the things that she's doing, so it's that time that she's spending on business licenses plus the time that she's not doing other type of things. So like in my position, I feel like the budget's a huge priority, but when I get involved in so many daily tasks, then I don't do as good a job on the budgeting and the planning side, the forecasting. Does that make sense? So there's costs and opportunity costs, and that's one of the things I think we struggle with having the number of people that we have with what we're trying to accomplish. It's literally like take them off one job, put them on another. And so that's what I'm interested to find out if you're looking for like a certain efficiency break point where it says if we recoup this much or we had this much in revenue that would be able to reduce business license fees by a certain amount. I don't know that we'll probably achieve that.
Yeah.
That goal. Does that make
Well, I think it would, because once you produce, the development cost of the software, or whatever it is, buying the software, writing the code or whatever, would be the initial cost. And there would be a little bit of maintenance on that as you do it. You already pay a fee on all your credit card stuff. And
until it doesn't work.
but you already have that in place, so you already have to worry about that. So once
except for when you have a problem, then it means Wanda has to figure out what's wrong with the software and the kind of the IT portion instead of this is what I know.
And now she has to sit and do them all individually. Whereas this, if the renewals or whatever were done automatically, it wouldn't even take any of her time, and that would just be money that went in to cover whatever other costs there were.
Yeah, you can
So
kinda
I
analyze it if
think
you
it
want
would
to.
balance itself out, and I think in the long run, it'd even pay for itself. Because it's just like, I look at it like my stuff, it takes me so long to produce a map, but once I get that map produced and I load it on my website and I put it up so people can download it and buy it, once that map, my time is paid for, it's all profit. There's no cost to that except for the maintenance on the, paying my hosting fees and things like that, which run me about $100 and something a year for the hosting and an occasional fixing something, with my website type thing. I think that, it definitely doesn't cost. Anyway, I think just looking at the cost of everything and weighing it out, I think we might be able to save her some time. I think it'll cost something to put it together, but in the long run, it'll help the business in the sense it won't cost as much for them, but there won't need to be that cost because of the time saved on the other side.
Okay, Bailey, you had a comment?
I play devil's advocate.
Yep.
Say, what if we kept them at 50 and just looked at, I would like to know, it goes into the general fund, that 7,500, but, I think most businesses would be happy to pay that if they knew it was going into something that was going to benefit them, not just, obviously it benefits them, but we've always, our city, what is our budget, Oliver, for the Economic Development Committee? $5,000?
$5,000 a year.
A year is what we run off of. And we do some really awesome things. There's some really good programs we've got going. And so I think that would be great if you guys would consider that, maybe looking at that fee and putting it back into the economy in that way.
So are you saying you want
I want all
business
that money.
licenses to increase if it goes to that?
No, not to increase. I'm saying there's going to be some administrative costs that have to be kept.
Oh, yeah.
But
That's a good analogy because you just basically said,
right, it's reinvesting into
if we collect 7,500 and 5,000 of it's already going to,
No, it's currently not.
it's not, but your
if-
budget comes from somewhere.
Right.
Which is called general fund.
Okay, if you want to look at it that way. I know, that's a whole separate.
That was a different fight.
Yeah, that's exactly.
But you just take that same scenario and repeat it line item by line item about every line item that needs to be increased for some purpose. And so like the administrative cost to collect the 7,500 is
At 2,500, so we're still left with the 5, so we're even. I'm bad at that.
Cindy's got a comment.
I'm just saying, it would be something I'd like to.
okay.
Well, I just want to say that I've already spent probably $500 just on this discussion of the 7,500, just doing the research and putting it together, putting it on paper, and I feel like $50 is pretty small. And then there are also the unforeseen items that come up, the compliance issues that we have with businesses. There's no way to budget for that. There's no way to know we're going to have 5 or 10 or 2 compliance issues that have involved hours with the state tax commission this year and have involved 3 to 4 administrative staff members trying to work through these problems, plus the time of the city council. So you weigh all that in, and I think you're going to find that we're in arrears.
Well, do you have a comment?
I was just going to say, to me, 2 comments. One, as a business owner, $50 to me is a minimal thing, quite honestly. And as a city councilman, I would just say I think we need to spend as little time as possible on this, quite honestly. As little as much as full-time staff. If we want to research the software, that's fine, but as little time as possible, quite honestly, in my opinion.
My own thing is Landy can do it for 25 to start you, to set you up, and then 15 renewal. Why are we 3 times as much?
We don't
Are
have
we,
an
are we spending 3
electricity,
times as
and we
much
don't have gas, and we
as
don't
they
have-
do?
Well, that is 2 extra utilities. They own their gas and electricity.
So, the city gets tax on it here.
Okay, let's move on. Why don't we, Monty, you want to check on the software from the state?
Sure.
And then, while you're with your floors, can you find out if they've got a
What
add-on?
interface?
But- And that shouldn't take too much city time. Is that agreeable with everybody?
Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion on that? City kiosk.
Okay, so in your packets is a, I don't know what you want to call it, kiosk, marquee, letterboard. Basically, it's just a way to get the word out to the public about meetings, announcements, hearings, all those things that we have them, we post them, and then people say, I never saw that. You do like a poor job at advertising, and there's only so much that the city can do. Somebody has a newspaper or signs around town. And I think this would be a good way to get the word out. Hey, tonight, planning and zoning, we're having a discussion on this issue. Please come. Lots of cities do it. I've contacted a great number of probably 5 or 6. In my mind, that's great because all the time it takes to call them up, wait for them to call back. Other sign companies, and this is the only one that's really worked with me. And I've gotten them bid, gotten them down to under 5,000 for a, I believe that's a 8x4.
Must be. Oh, no, you're at, this one's 8x4.
4x8. 4x8. So 4 feet by 8 feet. 4 rows, I think. 4-inch letters, and we can change that because
We talked about
Councilman Clark,
larger.
yeah, larger. We can make it 3 rows and 6 or 8 inch. Anyways, I thought that would be a good thing to really improve the amount of people that come to meetings and are involved in the public process.
So this bid for this one, is that everything that, it looks like block
So we would
work
have
or
to
something?
build those posts.
Okay.
You mean I would have to build those posts?
This is we.
This is we stuff, you staying?
The kid's here the next week. So it was just something I've been thinking of for a long time, and I just thought it'd be a good thing for the city. Go ahead.
Is it a manual lettered thing or is it digital?
Manual.
Just like I have out at Bull
Because from
Hall,
my
nicer.
from my experience, it's easier to see.
And where will it go?
Straight out here, right past the rocks in the grass area. I think it's easier to see hand letter than digital, and it's cheaper to set up. Then we wouldn't have any technology things. It's double-sided, so you get it on both sides. It's lit, so at night it'll be backlit.
Do the letters stay on it by wind?
It's covered with
Oh, really?
graffiti-resistant locked. It says it's graffiti. They've done like stuff with it. It's supposed to be graffiti-resistant, so if vandalism is done, it's easier than other things to clean up. Yeah. They say it's easier to clean up. It's also supposed to be fade-resistant, so it doesn't yellow as much as other plastics. So it's got like UV protection, and it's got a locked thing, so other people can't come and mess with
It's
it.
like the high schools then.
Is there any feedback from like Wanda or other city employees?
Wanda's totally on board with it. I mean, no one else is here to back me up on that.
You can throw her in there.
I've already talked to her about this. It'd be really easy just to get a little rectangle box and have each day of the week and have those letters prepackaged in an envelope. Planning Commission, Economic Development, City Council. And just go in and put them on each one.
You know what, I like that idea because there's not enough time to read all the information on the digital one, but it's, as you go by it, read backwards.
Yeah.
Well, you will stop.
Been dragging on the wrong side of the road.
Where would the budget, where would this come from?
So there's an admin miscellaneous and non-department equipment. Both each have 10,000 allotted to them, and not much has been spent either.
Is there anything marked for that down the road? And it's
Not that I'm aware of. I mean, we still have 6 months, or 5 months left in the fiscal year. of that 20,000, you took 5 of it, or less than 5. For that, I think it'd be here for 2 decades at least.
Just out of curiosity, is it cinder block or is it brick?
It's
I mean, what?
So it'll come with just brackets.
Well, I know, but would you be making the pillars out of cinder block?
So I
or
think you
wood
should make the
brick?
pillars out of cinder block. Just this.
You mean what I be building?
That's what I'm trying to figure out, because if
Him working with the
he's
pillars.
saying brick, I
The pillars could be anything.
They
So it looks
could
like it's
be
mounting
anything.
hard.
So
They could be
here's
steel
what could be
poles.
really easy to do is do cinder block, make that really solid because we've got the experienced crew that know what they're doing with cinder block,
do like ground to me.
and then you just and then you throw up a brick facade
A
around
veneer
it.
around it.
What pine
So
trees?
and that's cheaper brick. It's not structural. And it's,
Or stone or whatever.
yeah,
Okay. I just
and
said I'm wanting to.
and I think the brick would be
Myself.
cheaper. If you see the next option is a monument, and that will add another over $1,000, and the brick and concrete and mortar will not cost anywhere close to that.
What's the monument?
We'll raise.
With the guy right?
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Right. Oh, it's almost 2,000 more. It's almost 2,000.
What do we need on this side?
So the price again, you were,
So that quote for that price is good.
uh,
4,500.
Plus shipping, right?
Yeah, that includes shipping.
That includes shipping.
I'm pretty sure that includes shipping. I don't
Because
think I would have
again,
written
it's the
10.
special instructions, additional freight, $585.
Isn't that on top of the
Well, it's on the bottom.
investment?
No, investment is $45.14. Special instructions, additional freight, $585.
So in my understanding, that includes that. If I'm wrong, I'll just email and we can do a digital vote.
So then this, based on this same thing we just talked about, this will take time of Wanda going out and putting those on once a week. And any maintenance that comes up on it, or as soon as the kids paint it and tag it, then George has got to go rub the paint off. and-
I've definitely
I'm not
talked to her.
George.
Oh, you're not George.
I'm a lot
You
cuter.
cut your hair.
Yeah, but if that's, I think that's worth it to get the word out.
What's it gonna do? What's it gonna cost long-term maintenance? And energy costs on doing the lighting and everything?
I don't have those numbers. I think maybe because we have our city sign out here. That's lit.
I would just say this, if it increases the ability for the citizens to know what they need to do and to participate in the process, we've had some meetings recently where citizens have been involved, including our last city council and our last
Planning work meeting.
work meeting, and honestly, I think those are the best meetings when the citizens get involved. And if it facilitates that, I'm all for it, quite honestly. I think it's a good investment.
I think we had those turnouts because of Facebook.
It could have been, but I also think that it'll help.
Yeah, and we've had countless hearings that nobody comes to, like the one tonight.
No, we're not the.
Did you guys? Tom, you're at every meeting. Did you come for the CDBG grant?
No.
Well, I know there were several people at the work meeting that said, I didn't know about this meeting. And I really wanted to be there, I didn't know until the last minute.
There's a lot of
That's
citizens that
good.
don't do stuff online either.
Yeah.
And the banners for sports, I get a lot of registration forms in sports on time, and parents know that just because of that simple printed banner that I hang up.
I think once you get it up and everybody knows where to go find information, it'll get you,
I think every time you drive through a small town, they have a really funny church billboard that has a funny phrase they're saying. You can read it real fast and it makes you laugh. It's really catchy.
Can I be in charge of that? Sorry.
discussion or as a action item? I would say that we make it an action item.
Discussion first, action second.
Okay, entertain a motion from somebody.
Okay, I'll make a motion to purchase a kiosk not to exceed, what did we decide on that? Between the price and the shipping,
He's thinking that includes the shipping.
correct?
But if it doesn't, if you went 5, would be safe.
Yeah, and I can email you out the official bid once I go back here, say, okay, we want to purchase this, give me the final cost.
So am I safe to say that not to exceed $5,000? Okay, that's my motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, a motion's been made by Stephen Duke to purchase a city kiosk for $5,000 or less. It was seconded by Rick Clark. Any other discussion? This is a roll call, I guess.
Yeah.
George?
I'm gonna vote no, I still think that's too much. I still think that's too much. I'm gonna say no.
Can I vote?
Yeah.
Aye. Rick?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Monty?
No,
Okay, we have 3 ayes and 2 noes. Passes. Next item, follow-up items.
I've got a couple garbage truck. Is it on the way?
It's here.
It's here.
it's that orange thing.
We've
Oh,
got
see,
there were a few little glitches with the Jake break and different things that the county's checking into, so. But it is here, so.
Oh,
We saw the county drive it by today, so I think they're testing it.
Yeah, doing a few test runs. And,
They had it up on 2 wheels.
hey, that's impressive. Mark had it on 2 wheels. But
Especially since there's 4 on one side.
I think we ought to have a city contest, have kids name
That'd be cool.
well, what we were kind of thinking is putting a big block M on it, because we did have it painted orange.
For Monty?
From well,
Pumpkin head, what? Something like that.
that might not be a bad idea. Name it.
I think that would be
We do
the
like a coloring contest with the school. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll help with
Have
that.
Adrian draw pictures and name it.
I had another one. I was just curious about the Maverick parking lot.
Ongoing, had a couple more phone calls today, but right now their lot is just shut down. So I just have to say Maverick's been really good, really responsive to work with. So I called the governmental affairs lady in Salt Lake and they responded. Mike Palmer, I think I sent an email, one of the emails, and in the discussion they went through like different signage, and then just one of the thoughts was close it at night. But no matter what scenario they came up with, it would just cause a different set of issues to try and regulate. So then you'd have to close it at a certain time, and the attendant would have to go clear the lot before they could.
Right.
And it's difficult for an attendant at night to go deal with truck drivers as well as the Palmers.
Truck driver.
But Maverick's been pretty responsive, so they voluntarily shut it down for now. I think they're kind of evaluating if it has any impact to the business. I don't think they feel like it is going to have much of an impact because the lot's mostly used for rest and R&R for the truck drivers more than it is for businesses. So if a truck's going to drive through the diesel pumps, and even if they don't fuel, they usually go that route to go in and use the store, make purchases or whatever, and then they loop back around. There's occasional trucks that park there, but may or may not be customers of Maverick, so they've looked into that. They have a couple different divisions working on it. One's the construction side. They talked also about building I guess that sound barrier fence, but it's higher, if it's higher and wider, it's not necessarily gonna solve any noise issues. And then the real estate division contacted me today, and they're gonna find out if Palmer's are interested in selling their property. So I don't think they're gonna try and push them anyway, but if that's an option that they're interested in, they're even considering that as an alternative, just to buy that. But it's kind of awkward because there's that street that divides their property anyway. So then that lot off to the other side of the street isn't as convenient for customers, because then a lot of them will just park like right along the highway,
Yeah.
run in instead of across the street, if all they're gonna do is stop and buy a soda or something. So really that lot's just being used for R&R.
Mike did text me just for the meeting and said that they were contacted about selling.
This afternoon probably.
Yeah.
And I think they were also interested to find out that Maverick's researching the property ownership. Like if they buy his property, then what's next to it, and then how much of it behind it he actually owns, and so. But so far, I think, just as from the city's perspective, I think it's been positive, really good working with Maverick to think that they're willing to, work with one of our residents on different options. I mean, all kinds of different options. They've been responsive.
Even so, they were really slow getting to this point.
Yeah.
They were way slow getting to this point. So don't give them any slack.
Well, okay, I won't make any excuses. But I think what we discovered is the message wasn't getting to the right place in Maverick.
Right person being asked.
Yeah, he sent several letters, but it kind of went through.
So somebody in Maverick didn't do their job and passed it to the right person?
Well,
Okay, that's still their issue.
yeah, and it's been interesting. Kind of at the corporate level, then every time I talk to a new person, they don't have the whole background on it. But it is a corporate decision. It's not a local manager decision. So.
Yeah, and I think
So
one
from my 3 weeks as city manager, they've been excellent. Before that, I don't have a clue.
one of the worst
For the year and a
things,
half before that,
Okay.
one of
That's
the worst
great.
things was the last, 3 days or so, when they told them they were closing it, and the very next day called back and said, no, we're keeping it open, 7 to 7, and the very next day sent back and said, no, we're gonna close it.
That was
It was like,
that was kind of the corporate side talking to the operations side in Maverick, because I got the same messages.
yeah,
And I think one of them I sent out was like, oh good, they're closing, and then they're like, on a trial basis, like we want to, and they considered putting in permanent gates and different things. But at this point, where we're at is we have open lines of communication, and we even talked about coordinating signing issues. So whenever they get a permanent solution in place, that if kind of some truck signs could help, like truck entrance only, where their diesel pumps are and that sort of thing, so that we don't get trucks going down through the neighborhood on accident or something.
so did we get them the letter with the code in it and stuff, so if we have this problem down the road?
No, we took this avenue first.
Yeah, the governmental affairs contact is familiar with
With the code?
going in that direction. And
Okay.
I don't think that they're interested in. I think they just want to they want to do good business. That's that's for sure, and use the property to their advantage. And that's just kind of where they're at. Is they're not sure that that property is even an advantage to their business. And so, if it was, I think it would be a different conversation.
Sure.
No, it's just good to have everything out on the table.
So that's where we're at.
So,
That was the
Thank
short
you.
version.
Anybody else? George? Steve? Juan?
Well, just one thing quick, maybe Cindy knows this. We talked one time when we had the auditors there. They kind of gave us some, like, areas where we needed to focus. And we had talked at one point of like scheduling during one of our meetings to just follow up on those to see how we're doing. Do we already kind of have that scheduled, or do we need to kind of put that in the
I think we need to put it
calendar
in,
at some point?
that stack I was talking about, the management discussion and analysis, that's what we just got in the mail. And so I think that's what we need to sit down and review.
And I had heard that it was scheduled for, like, you decided to review it in February or
That
something
could
like
be,
that.
that could be.
Yeah,
I just wanted to
didn't.
see that we're gonna do that.
So that's kind of what I was gonna do, is kind of prepare, but did we already do kind of taskings of like how we were gonna work through some of the findings? Yeah, there's that. Yeah. I'm sorry you're gonna miss that part.
You're gonna miss that part.
We're irritated, you're missing a lot of these parts, by the way.
And did that sign include a plaque with your name on it? I don't remember.
I think that was the monument, actually.
I thought it was a headstone.
Yours said no.
We thought you were gonna be this guy's.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I was here.
I'll just come and stand there.
Thank you, Scouts.
Thank you.
That's a long way.
I do have one thing I'd like to ask. I've been reading through the book, what's his name? Lovett gave me when he left office, was the League of City, whatever, book that has all the rules and stuff for city government and what we can do with, anyway, how it all works. And I would like to ask if there's a way that we could get one of their guys, because most of us are all new within a couple of years, and I know you know it all. You could teach us, but you're busy.
Haven't gotten more than,
Yeah, exactly. I'm just wondering if we could get one of their guys to come here and give us some on-site training on, how it's all supposed to work. Because you can read through the book, and I still have questions.
I thought they do,
That takes years of conferences and trainings, but I think the council needs to go to those trainings.
So they have a newly elected officials training, I think every year,
And they had one this last, I think, September.
but you can go as many.
Is there any way to get one of their people just to come and do an on-site?
We can check, and then we can compare prices between bringing them down versus us going up when they have the training.
maybe you might be able to get it online too. I bet you they have that new, newly elected on.
Yeah, on the League of Cities and Towns.
That is kind of difficult.
You will see.
Like, I've seen like they'll post their PowerPoints, and it's like PowerPoints are like the bullets that somebody's gonna cover, and you're like, I wonder what that slide is referring to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you're if the council's interested in training, we can.
I don't care if I know what I'm doing, but these guys would.
Yeah, I think they care what you're doing.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay, any other, I know Burton Black, I think I forwarded the email that he sent me. Probably in your email.
I've never seen it.
I was on the incentives.
Yeah, on the incentives for water efficient.
Oh, right, yep.
I don't know if we want to put that on an upcoming agenda item or.
I would.
I think it's worth talking about.
Yeah, and I would maybe encourage, before we talk about it, just to have maybe Nate look at it and see what his opinion on it is too. He's had some training on some of those things, and maybe he has some ideas too.
And one thing, if we do talk about that, we need to talk about too, those that want to do the, incentives for their yards. And get out of included. In the discussion anyway, not that anything happened, but just part of the discussion.
Parks and Beautification try to incentivize that by giving out awards as a positive reinforcement this last summer. So they'd be interested in that as well. Give out yard awards on the best viewer escaped.
Well, we started a water rights campaign. Was that was 2 years ago that we did that. We had kids in the elementary doing things. And that's something, because I know in the general plan, that's something that's been tasked to the chamber too. And that was, I think it is, anyway. But that might be something to look back into, is like really creating a really good water-wise program. We had a couple of before summer hits. I believe that that was one that was ours. Anyway,
Could have been.
yeah, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, you're right.
We work for you guys, but I do.
Any other upcoming agenda items we need to add on?
And how soon do we want this one on?
On one that we don't have a whole lot of other things.
Okay, I'll just put it on the next one and we'll see.
I don't think it's a rush.
So you're already looking at the internet stuff that I had on, that I presented, that we're going to put on it at some point, is that right?
On what?
The internet,
Business licenses?
no, the internet stuff that I presented a couple months ago that we were going to
Yeah.
postpone until,
We're doing a few personnel policies,
okay,
not just that one. We want to bring it all at the
okay,
same time.
cool. Sounds good to me.
Oh, like internet use,
Yeah.
acceptable use?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, we're reviewing the whole policy manual.
okay, cool.
Upcoming meetings, was there a training, was there a work meeting scheduled, or something like in the minutes?
For what?
That wasn't here. A work meeting
It's for the week, because
for,
Tim was gonna be gone, I think it was next week, or next.
Work meeting
next
for,
Oh, we're doing a discussion on the house, no, was it the, what is that next week, the next meeting?
The short-term rentals?
Was that the one Tim
Oh,
wanted
yeah,
to be to?
that's what it
Here,
was.
next Tuesday.
so were we doing a work meeting before that again? Like we did last time?
that could be.
I don't know, I thought that's kind of what he said, but.
I don't remember. That was 2 weeks ago.
Somebody will let us know that, right?
Yeah.
Any other meetings? Okay.
We have a jump out. There's something like a hazing for somebody, don't we? Somebody that's leaving.
I was gonna say, hazing
Well, that's
is different.
February 10th.
We jump him in, we have to jump him out. or-
I was looking at
All I
George.
have to say is good luck with that.
I'm done.
Good luck with that, huh, George?
I'm out.
I'll do it, I have some anger built up on the last
I need a good.
short time I've been.
Can take long.
Was
I
the
think
bid
that's
to
all
take
we
one?
have.
I'll make a motion that we close the meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded.
Aye.
Monty and Rick,
I
right?
gotta hear myself.
We gotta be- Let's go.